Hi, I'm Streaky. Today I'm reviewing the Spectrasonics Spectra 1964 compressor limiter. So yes, this is a compressor limiter from Spectra. Now, I love the look of this. It looks pretty old school, doesn't it? It doesn't get more old school looking than that. They used to build desks and bits and bobs like this. They built this basically in the 60s, hence the name 1964. And you can tell by the design, looks sort of retro-y and stuff. They've made it look the same, apart from it's slightly bigger because it's got some really fancy knobs on it with these Elmer switches, which are posh. I don't think the originals had that, and obviously that's what you want when you're in a mastering scenario like me, so you can recall stuff easily and know it's going to be the same every time. So that's the major change from the original. As I say, it's a limiter compressor, which means you can use it either as a limiter, so it's very fast, super fast. You can use it as a limiter, or you can sort of slow it down a bit with the threshold, the slope and the release, and use it more as a compressor, so you get more of that kind of vintagey sound. But in a mastering scenario, you really want to use it as a peak limiter. Now, what spiked my interest on this, there's a mastering engineer you've probably heard of called Pete Lyman in LA. He's a real analog boy, and I respect his opinion. And so when I saw a video of him saying that he had a couple of these and they were from the 60s and that they're hard to get hold of and they're his secret weapon, obviously I'm just like, okay, I need to check those out straight away. So I found some and I've got them, and they now distribute them in the UK and Europe, but mainly they're American. So I've got hold of them. I've got to check them out. I've had them for over a week. So let me just run through a basic layout. I'm not, as with all my reviews, I don't give a kind of, it's not a manual. I'm not going through it in a boring kind of thing, that does that and that does that. I'm just telling you a practical way of working with it and how I've found working with it since I've had it for a week. So, okay, so the front, let's run through this quickly. It's a mic and line input, so you can use this as a mic pre as well. It's a normal reverse on the phase. Then you've got input pad, which is -10, -20, -30. You've got a phantom power for the mic input. There is a threshold, which is obviously where you're grabbing the sound for the limiting or compressing. There's a slope, which changes the effect of the sound. You can have that on 0 to 100, and then you can see the kind of gain reduction that you've got going on here with the compression and limiting. There's a threshold here, so you can see exactly where you're grabbing the sound. And then there's an overload in case you're smashing the hell out of it and don't realise. It's a sort of bit of a warning light. That's on the input side of things. There's another overload on the output. There's on the meters, there's a little kind of pad on the meters so that you can actually see what you're doing if you need to. Release. We all know what a release does. If the more release you have, the slower it's going to let go of something, it's going to release it. And the effect of that on a compressor or a limiter means that it's going to add more sound of the box. But the problem is with that, sometimes it slows the track down and it smooths things out. So on certain material, you want to add longer release times and faster release times if you want something that's snappy. Output is obviously the output. These switches are lovely, by the way, really nice. They look cool. On the back, it's a very, there's two of these. This is left and right, so you need two of these. And you've got a XLR line in and out. You've got one where you can just put wires straight in rather than having a connector. You've got a ground, and you can link it, so you can link the two together so that they're in stereo link rather than running independently. There's a mic in there, which I said, so you can use this as a mic pre to sort of limit or compress the mic. That's it. Super simple, pretty light, as you can see, pretty thin, but pretty wide because they have to, as I say, get these big chunky new knobs on. So, the inside's probably like that, just to do the wiring. So pretty well made, pretty solid, looks great. And so let's move on. How does this sound? So the way that I've been using it in a mastering scenario is as a peak limiter. Now, most limiters in mastering, I don't use analog limiters. Let's just say that, because back in the day when I started, for about the first 10 years, I'd use a Maselec analog limiter, which was the thing to use. Everyone used it, had a great sound, and it got you a certain level going back into your A to D converters. But Then the L2 came along and all these kind of finalizer boxes and stuff. People started getting things louder in the digital world. So to compete with that, you have to add about 6 dB of gain after an AD converter. There's no way you can get the same level with an analog limiter. So I used to end up using that mass select limiter more as a kind of compressor and just, you know, smashing into it, because it was really drawing the sound down and pulling it together. It sounded great, but I couldn't use it as a limiter, so you have to be in the box, which is the way everyone does it now. So when I heard that this was a peak limiter, I was thinking, oh, well, that's kind of dull because I'm not going to be able to use that, pointless. But what's happened is, with this peak limiter, what it's doing, it's just shaving the tops. It's not pulling down the sound, it's just shaving the tops off. So what other mastering engineers have found, secret tip, is they put this at the front of their chain. So what they're doing is, it's really, because it's so fast and because it's not massively coloured, because you're not using loads of release time, you are getting, like, it goes through it really fast, but it's just shaving the tops of the peaks off with the amount of threshold you're doing. So what you do, you just have the threshold so it's just touching it. So it's only taking like half a dB off. But what it's doing, it's just going through all those frequencies and just nipping off those little tops. So as it goes into all your other analog gear and any plugins, they're reacting in a different way because they've suddenly got a lot more level coming from all the other frequencies. So instead of it just, you know, the one frequency determining where your compressor's doing, for example, and that's where your threshold is for the compressor's got a lot more to deal with now. So that's the kind of theory on it. But how does it work in practicality? Because obviously, as soon as I heard that, and they were saying that they were getting, you know, people that were using it are getting this kind of perceived loudness, I'm obviously all over that, aren't I? Because that's my game. So I've been using it for about a week, and I've been using it, so the threshold basically is on 0, because by the times I get into it with my gear, it's the threshold light is just flashing slightly. I have the slope on 0. I don't want to have any kind of compression sound. The more of that on, you get more compression. The lights, these green lights, are just flashing down to about half, or they're all on basically, but then you get like, it's just flashing between 0 and -1, so I know I'm just shaving the peaks. The release time I've got totally on 0, so I just want it fast. I want it going through my equipment. I don't want it to be changing the sound too much on the way in. I just want it shaving those peaks, as I've said. So I've lined it up with a 1K tone, and I've found out that it's actually, with the settings that I've got, and I've got literally the output, like I say, I've got it on the lowest it can go, and it seems like this is adding a dB when I punch it in. So with that in mind, I'm going to do some demos now for you. So I'm going to play you through. What I'm going to do is, after I've recorded it, I'm going to just match the input. I'm going to put it up, the before, up a dB, so that you know that the before and after are matched the same. I don't want to do it before recording, because obviously it's going to pump more level into it, and that defeats the object. So I'll play those demos now. Then you can see I've found that when I've been working on various different tracks with it, I think guitar music it works really the best on, like which is probably why Pete Lyman really likes it, because I know he does a lot of that kind of music. And I found dance music it definitely. Yeah, well, I'll show you. Basically, Matt's track now is a dance track, but I haven't got a band track to use on it, so I can't show you that. But yeah, I'll play you the track. I'll play you before and after. Make your own mind up. I'd love to know in the comments what you think of this box. I love the sound of it. Retail price, they are about £2,500 each. So you're talking 5K basically for these. But, you know, if you're in the world of this and you're in the world of analog mastering, equipment's that sort of price, so that's what happens basically, and you can use it as mic pre as a little bonus. It might be an idea for them to make one that is just a peak limiter, that is for mastering without the mic pre's and all that. I don't know whether that would have changed the cost of how they make it. You know, just take the bells and whistles off and just keep it as a straightforward peak limiter. If that brought it down by 500 quid each unit, they might sell some more, but that's just my thought. So let's get on with it. I'll stop talking. I'm out of breath. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe as usual, because that helps the YouTube algorithm, so I'm told. So until next time, here's the demos. If you want to download these for you to listen to, then go to Anorax. They'll be in your Anorax members area. So go to anorax.co, link below, And then in there are all the stuff that I do on YouTube and all the things that, you know, loads of presets and all that kind of thing. So go to anorax.co and yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.